2.5 to 3/4 of success for the Raptors is completely unraveled late, and the reality is with the modern Toronto Raptors is they're not equipped for the modern NBA in terms of offensive output. Let's get into our post-game show. For the fourth time in 6 games this season, the Toronto Raptors have failed to register 100 points in an NBA game. It is not, the early 2000s. It's not like 2008 where you get a free slice of pizza if the Raptors score 100 points in the game. Like, 100 points is a formality in the modern NBA. It just is. But the Raptors, even with that bump against the Milwaukee Bucks where they register 130 points, they come crashing back down to earth. And this game was just, I don't feel like 15 points is truly indicative of how the game went. There was a lot of good stuff from the Raptors. For the first 20 or so minutes of this game, it was a tight game. The Sixers go on an 8-0 run. Like, first 22 minutes, it's tight. The Sixers go on an 8-0 run late in the first, end up having that lead at halftime. And I think it was 9-point lead at halftime. But anyways, 8-0 run late takes away the good things the Raptors done. But the Raptors come out firing after the adjustments at halftime. Raptors come out firing. There's a new bit of fire in the system, newfound confidence. They're cooking. They're really, really working. Half-court offense is starting to look good again. But then as the game gets close, the Raptors once again make it like a tight game. It was like 64-64. The Sixers just start pulling away again. And the reason being, it's not just like the defense trying. Like 114 is not unacceptable to allow to a Philadelphia 76ers team. They were expected to get projections 111 or so points for the Sixers today. So they're right there, basically. But the problem is, like, you get into these pockets of the game where the Sixers can go on these 8-0 runs, where the Raptors just can't score, where the Raptors just flat out can't score. And in the first half, it was the starting unit that had those issues. In the second half, it was the bench unit that had a lot of those issues at the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter. So 2 big things that have been troublesome from 2 years and are still troublesome. It's the spacing. Once again, I sound like a broken record, but it just is. When you get into this, when the game gets slowed down because you're not hitting shots, you're not scoring, they're on a run, and it's just momentum in their way. There's no real way for the Raptors to break that streak, break the run, break that momentum, because they just don't have trustworthy shooters. So unless you have a first quarter where Barnes is going nuclear, where he's got 12 points in the first 5 minutes, he's 2 of 2 from 3, when that positive shooting variance isn't going your way, and Barnes misses his next 5 threes, and Siakam goes 0 of 3, and Trent goes 2 of 5. 2 of 5 is okay, but when Trent's missing like the easy ones, nobody's making up for the missed threes. Like the offense just completely folds. It just allows that Sixers defense to shrink. And there was a photo from the Blazers game that sums up the Raptors offense perfectly that I'm going to pull up here. And there was a couple of points today during our live stream where I also pointed out this is what the Sixers defense looked like. Like, it just looks like a game from the 1980s where you've got 4 Blazers with a foot touching the paint. Maybe Scoots is not quite touching. And the 5th one is right outside. You've got 5 Blazers players within 8 feet of the basket. And there were times today where the Sixers were doing the same thing. They just don't have to come out and contest your shots. Like shooting is not just makeability, making those shots. Shooting is also about respect. So if a guy is not respecting your shot enough to go and defend you on the outside, be worried about you out there, the spacing just gets eaten up completely. And it seemed like the casualty of the lack of spacing tonight, biggest one, may have been Pascal Siakam, who only gets 11 shots off tonight. Was pretty efficient, 5 of 11, but 0 of 3 from 3, 10.6 assists. Like a max contract caliber player, you just flat out need more than that. You need to do more. I'll credit the Sixers a little bit. They did a good job of taking his game away. They took away his drives. And I'll put a bit on the coaching for not getting Siakam involved as much. Like when we were running plays for Siakam, we found success. But once again, I know there was 5 fouls, but those came late. We definitely could have gotten more Spicy P. We could have gotten more out of him. He should have produced more, but we also could have helped him get more. And I get he was a minus 14 as well, but there's just got to be a better plan in place to get more out of Siakam. Scottie Barnes was amazing, 12 points in the first 5 minutes. Cooled off as the game wore on, but did try to pick it up. It felt like if the Raptors were going to make a comeback today, it was going to come through Scottie Barnes. 24 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. No steals or blocks today. That's okay. 9 of 16 from the field. Like I say, he started 2 of 2 from 3, 0 of 5 from then on. But you shouldn't be relying on Scottie Barnes to be taking your threes. We just kind of have no choice with the way the team is built. Another really good night from OG, and despite the troubles, he actually finished as +5. 16 points, 7 of 12 from the field. Bench lineups are really where you get problems again. Trent continues to be a non-factor. He's an $18 million player looking for mid-20s next season. Ain't getting it playing like this. Only 8 for him. At least he hit a 3 tonight. That's something you wouldn't have been able to say about him from the previous 2 games, but he's a minus 15. Grady Dick continues to be a bit of a hole on defense. They pick on him. Today was the worst I've seen Grady Dick look on defense. He's been holding his own to a certain degree in other games. Don't love playing him heavy minutes with Trent. That's not really doing either of them any favors. But it's just becoming tough because you want that spacing. He just didn't really provide. He didn't even attempt a 3 tonight, which was weird. He had looks. And Flynn's a -8. Like it's honestly one of the better Flynn performances, but it's just still, you're still just not really getting enough from him on the defensive side of the ball. And it's tough. Boucher was the other player who was a factor off the bench, and just, how much can you really get out of Chris Boucher on a day-to-day basis? McDaniels got limited minutes as well. Otto Porter Jr. out load managing for today. McDaniels got his first points of the season, which is great. But just the bench in general, like Darko really leaned on the lineups where you have 4 bench guys. You had Flynn, Dick, Trent, Boucher with Barnes. Barnes playing as a 5 on defense and initiating a lot of the offense when the Raptors had the ball. But I'm getting real sick of the 4 players from the bench in the same lineup. I guess he just I don't know. With Darko, it's just he's been dealt a really tough hand here. Like he's been dealt what'll be the worst hand, a 2-7 offsuit with the bench. Is he just trying to limit the amount of time period that the bench is on the court? So you play all 4 together, you rest a bunch of your starters, then you can bring your starters back in, stagger Trenton with the starters a bit, then get that 5th starter back in. Is this what Darko's thinking? Damage control as much as possible. I don't know. The bigger question should be why our bench is still a problem all these years later from the front office, but that continues to be an issue, and it was the issue in the second half. But the first half, like I said, all throughout the game, the shooting just continues to be an issue for the Raptors. I hate that I have to talk about this every single game, but I do. I do. And look, the shooting percentage, because we started so hot from 3, ends at 36. So you'll look at this game and think, well, Jacob, the Raptors shot 10 of 28 from 3. That's pretty good. You said before the game you'd take a 35% night from 3. Yeah, I would before the game, but just the stretches of the game where we can't score, they go on a run, we have no way to break that open because we just don't have that outlet of a shot which gets us to space inside. That's the greater issue in this whole ordeal. Free throws are pretty even. They have 25, we have 19. Considering they have Embiid, you'll happily take that spread here, but another issue for the Raptors this season continues to be turnovers. 19 turnovers by the Raptors tonight. And even though the Sixers take more free throws, Nick Nurse team, they outpossess the hell out of us. 92 possessions for the Sixers. 92 free field goal attempts by the Sixers, compared to just a 79 by the Raptors. So turnovers, shooting, bench, 2 of those things very much have been consistent problems. The turnovers is a new thing that's kind of hit us in a few different games this season. I'd like to see NBA turnovers per game, where teams are ranking how high Toronto are up on the board, because I think that's an interesting piece to see where they're at. Give me one sec. Raptors are 22nd in the league in turnovers at 16 per game. but that won't be counting tonight. So they'll probably move into the bottom 4 of the NBA in turnovers per game after tonight. And I mean, like the teams down there are Detroit, San Antonio, Portland, Brooklyn, bad teams. Phoenix down there as well, but Phoenix is a very boomer bust offense. So look, it's a tough game. We were 8-point underdogs. I get it, but it's just like I hate the fact that 2.5 really good quarters is kind of masked and completely made irrelevant by 1.5 bad ones. Like the bad can't be that bad, is what I'm saying. Like if the Sixers overpower us, they're better than us, whatever. But the bad stretches can't be that bad, where it's literally just like a 5-minute run where they pull away and that's it. That's just what it's really becoming here. So that's what frustrates me. But like I've said previously, like we're susceptible to this with the way the roster is constructed. We're susceptible to these losses. We're susceptible to these bad stretches. And I don't know. Hard for me to like put too much blame on Darko. Like I don't want to protect him because he's a rookie head coach or anything. But I don't know. It's just what would you guys do with this bench? Because I don't really have a good answer on how to deploy them effectively, especially when you're really, really struggling to get anything out of Gary Trent, who should be a significant factor on the team this season. And I was very much expecting a big jump from Trent under this new coach, under this new offensive system, but it's just not happening as of yet. So things need to be rectified. But, we'll take a loss to the Sixers. It is what it is, but we can't take the way in which it went down, unfortunately. So, tough stretch of games on the way. Next 4 games, all away from home. Next 3 games, all away from home. Spurs, Sunday. Then it's the Mavericks. Then it's the Celtics. So, tough 3 games on the way. Dallas and Celtics going to be tough games. Spurs ain't no pushover either these days before you come home against the Wizards. So, let's go get couple wins in this stretch. Let's try to get this season. Let's try not to fall too far below 500 here. We're 2-4. NBA is a slippery slope, so let's find a way to get some wins. But if we're not getting the positive shooting variance, I don't know where it's going to come from. That's it for today's show. Drop a like if you enjoyed, guys. Subscribe for more Raptors content like this. I'll be back on Sunday for that Raptors game against the Spurs. Hope to see you there.